So you decide to buy a school bus company, win a contract with the local district, put drivers behind the wheel, and collect predictable payments for running the same routes every school day. It sounds better than most businesses. You don't need foot traffic. You don't need to find new customers every morning. The students are already there, and school comes back every fall. Then you look at your bus yard at noon. Every vehicle is parked. They'll move again in the afternoon, then sit all night, all weekend, and through much of the summer. But the payments, insurance, maintenance, and driver problems never stop. That is the part the yellow bus hides. You are buying an expensive fleet that spends most of its life waiting, while your contract demands that it work perfectly at the same 2 times every day. So the first thing you need is not a bus. It is a contract. In many American communities, a school district can operate transportation itself or hire a private bus company to handle some or all of it. When the work goes out for bid, the district is not simply asking how much to drive a bus. It may specify vehicle types, routes, the days buses must run, driver qualifications, reporting, insurance, spare buses, and what happens when service fails. No 2 districts price the work exactly the same way. One contract may ask for a base price per bus per day. Another may price routes, miles, hours, or extra trips separately. Some allow the price to change with fuel costs or the number of routes. Others leave more of that risk with you. There is no single national school bus contract, and that matters because the line you sign is the business you get. Once you win, the revenue can be unusually visible. You know the school calendar, you know the routes, you know roughly how many buses the district expects. But visibility is not the same as flexibility. If fuel, wages, parts, or insurance move faster than the contract allows, the district still has its price. You get to absorb the difference. And the contract is not merely a promise to pay you, it is your promise to perform. Read a few district bid documents and you see how quickly that promise becomes concrete. Missed routes, repeated delays, safety violations, and reporting failures can trigger financial penalties. Even when the dollar amount is modest, the larger risk is the record you are building before the next renewal. A district can forgive one ugly morning. It is much less interested in funding a pattern. Now the contract tells you how many routes you need to cover. That still does not tell you how many buses to buy. If you have 10 routes and buy exactly 10 buses, you have built a company that works only when nothing breaks. One dead battery, one failed inspection, or one repair that takes an extra day can leave a route without a vehicle. So you need at least one extra bus ready to go. That spare bus does not produce regular route revenue, but it protects the revenue of every bus that does. This is one of the strange economics of the business. The bus that earns nothing on a normal morning may be the one that saves the contract when another bus will not start. Of course, that backup bus has to be paid for. A full-size school bus is a serious commercial vehicle, not a painted van. Whether you buy new, buy used, lease, or finance, you are putting money into the fleet before the first student climbs aboard. Newer equipment can reduce some repair risk, but it raises the monthly payment. Older equipment lowers the entry price, but it can ask for that money back in parts, labor, and time off the road. There is no magical age where the decision becomes obvious. The right fleet depends on the contract, local inspection rules, the distance of the routes, your mechanics and repair setup, and how quickly you can put a replacement bus on the road. A cheap bus that misses service is not cheap. A new bus with a payment and no route is not cheap either. That brings us back to the empty yard at noon. Most regular school routes happen in 2 bursts, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Field trips, sports, summer programs, and outside charter trips can fill some of the gaps, and many transportation contracts price those trips separately. But that extra work is not free money. It needs a vehicle, a qualified driver, someone to coordinate the trip, fuel, cleaning, and enough time to avoid interfering with the route that actually anchors your contract. The bus is the capacity you can buy ahead of time. The driver is not. You can finance another vehicle. You cannot finance a qualified person into existence at 5:45 on a Monday morning. Under federal rules, drivers carrying students in a full-size school bus generally need a commercial driver's license, plus added qualifications showing they can carry passengers and operate a school bus. States and districts can require more training and background checks. That is sensible. It also means you cannot solve a shortage by handing the keys to whoever is available that morning. The schedule makes recruiting harder. The Bureau of Labor Statistics notes that school bus drivers often have limited hours because they work when school is in session. In practice, the job can split a workday in two: an early morning run, a long gap, then an afternoon run. Some drivers like that rhythm. Plenty of otherwise qualified workers need a continuous shift and look elsewhere. You can own a bus, have a route, and hold a signed contract, yet still lack the one person who turns all three into revenue. Imagine it is 5:45 on a cold Tuesday morning. A driver calls in sick. The bus is ready. The route is ready. Dozens of families are about to send children toward their usual stops. Your dispatcher now has a few minutes to find a substitute, rearrange coverage, or call someone who was supposed to have the day off. In a small company, that someone may be you. If the route runs late, the problem does not stay inside your yard. Parents call the district. Schools adjust arrivals. Staff may have to supervise children who reached a stop but did not find a bus. What began as one missing employee has become a contract problem before most businesses have opened for the day. Paying more can help with recruiting and keeping drivers. But if your bid was built around last year's labor cost, a raise does not automatically create more revenue. It comes out of the money you thought you would keep. This is why the winning bid is not always the best contract. Sometimes it is simply the bid that made the most optimistic assumptions. Vehicles create the same kind of pressure, only with larger invoices. School buses live a stop-and-start life, working their brakes, doors, tires, and warning equipment all day, often in bad weather. Maintenance is not just about lowering the repair bill. It is about deciding when the repair happens. A bus fixed on your schedule is an expense. A bus that fails on its route is an expense plus a service emergency. Then there are the miles the district never sees. The bus has to travel from the yard to its first stop, and from its final stop back to the yard. The industry calls these deadhead miles, distance that consumes fuel, driver time, and maintenance without carrying a student. Put the yard in the wrong place, or accept routes scattered too far apart, and the map quietly eats your profit. School start times matter too. If elementary, middle, and high schools begin at different times, one bus and driver may be able to run several groups of routes in sequence. If bells ring at nearly the same time, the district may need more vehicles and more drivers to move the same number of students. Two districts can transport similar numbers of children and still produce very different businesses because their clocks and geography are different. This is where a small bidding error becomes dangerous. Suppose your contract is priced by the bus and the school day. You underestimate the real cost by just $40 per bus per day. That does not sound fatal. But across 20 buses and 180 school days, the miss is $144,000. Nothing dramatic had to happen. No crash, no lawsuit. You were simply wrong by $40, repeatedly. The timing of the money matters too. Drivers expect to be paid on schedule. Fuel vendors and repair shops have payment deadlines of their own. The district pays according to the billing schedule in the contract. Depending on that schedule, You may spend the money required to run service before you collect the money for running it. A profitable contract on paper can still make payroll uncomfortable if your cash reserve is too thin. Getting bigger does help with some of these costs. A larger fleet can support a full maintenance team, more people coordinating routes, better prices on supplies, and more backup options. Nearby contracts may share a yard and reduce empty travel. The operation becomes more resilient, but the mistakes get larger too. Win a second district, and you may need buses and drivers before the new revenue begins. Lose a major contract at renewal, and the payments on those buses do not leave with the students. Your biggest customer may be a public institution with reliable demand, but that does not mean you own the demand. You own a contract with an expiration date. That is why the best operators are careful before they are ambitious. They know the actual cost of a route. They keep enough spare buses to cover a breakdown without paying for more parked vehicles than the contract can support. They recruit drivers before the calendar forces them to. They understand which risks the district will absorb and which ones sit entirely with the bus company. Most of all, they leave room in the bid for an ordinary year to behave like an ordinary year. Ordinary is not the same as perfect. A driver will call out. A bus will need a part. A route will change. Fuel prices will move. A snow day will shift the calendar. None of those events is a surprise. The surprise is how quickly a contract with predictable revenue can become fragile when the bid assumes they will not happen. Should you own a school bus company? It can be a durable business. The customer need is real. The work repeats, and a well-run contract can produce revenue that many small businesses would envy. But it is not passive, and it is not a simple bet on buying vehicles. Every day, you have to keep a fixed promise using costs that move, equipment that ages, and people who have to be ready before dawn. The best day in this business is one nobody notices. Every bus starts. Every driver arrives. Every route runs. Every student gets to school. By noon, the yard is full again, looking almost wasteful to anyone passing by. But those parked buses are not the failure of the model. They are the price of being ready to do it again. You do not really own a fleet of yellow buses. You own the promise that tomorrow morning will be boring.